Good stuff. Thank you. Good stuff. All right, listen, hold on. I can't talk to you yet unless you're willing to do something for me, okay? You got to be willing to take an oath. All right, so raise your right hand. Repeat this after me. I. State your name. Do. Hereby will. Promise. To open up my mind, my heart, my fingers, to learn, to grow, to be a great citizen of the state of Indiana, in the U.S., in the planet Earth. Woo! 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 You're gonna stay with me. Woo! 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 Wah! Woo! Nice job. All right, clap yourselves. Did a good job. Very good. So, this is going in and out, by the way. So I've got to just tell you this. I'm from South Boston, Massachusetts. I got to find out who's here. Okay. So first of all, let's find out who the seniors are. Seniors. Nice. Juniors. Sophomores. Oh, they don't even have them. They're not here? Oh, good. We hate them. All right. No freshmen either, right? Oh, thank God. Gosh, that's weird. Hey, but I have a theory. I'm just going to tell you this. I have this theory that I think, I've had 4 girls, okay? And I'm married to a girl. My mom's a girl. And I think the craziest people on the planet are 8th grade girls. Can I clap? You can clap if you agree with me? They're crazy. So I just gonna be honest with you. I get jealous of you guys sometimes because you like get good speakers. You're gonna really like this today. And when I was growing up, we had the worst motivational speakers. Like we had some bad speakers. We had this, like I'm not trying to make fun of people, but we had this old hippie dude that would come to our school, and he would like, first of all, he'd stand there and he's like swaying a lot, and there's no wind in the gym, so we were like, why is he swaying? Right? He's like, boys and girls, I did drugs. And we're like, today? Like, pretty sure that's illegal, right? And then I had we had this person come to our school, and she had poodles, right? And I don't know what we get there, and we're like, what? And she's playing with the poodles, and she's not even talking to us. She's just playing with the poodles. There's music playing. They're jumping to the poodles, the hoops and stuff, and doing tricks. All of a sudden, she stops the whole assembly, looks at us, and goes, "These are drug-free puppies." Like the stoned ones are in the van or something, right? And she's like, hey, you can be a drug-free puppy too. So clap for me because I'm a drug-free puppy today, you guys. Clap for me. This is going in and out. So listen, I'm going to jump right into this. I have this theory that is really important, and this one of the reasons, well, probably the big reason we're here today, is I believe that everybody in this room has a story. And your story really does matter. Let me say it again because some of you weren't listening, not because you were disrespecting me, but you're probably in the habit of disrespecting yourself. So let me say this again. Everybody in this room has a story, and your story really does matter. I've joked around with you guys a little bit about drugs, but my story has to do with drugs. I started doing drugs when I was in 6th grade all the way through to high school. When people ask me why I did drugs, I can tell you what they want me to tell you. They want me to stand here and tell you that I did drugs because of peer pressure, but that wasn't the issue for me with my drug use. My drug use had to do with the word pain. I was like a pharmacist. I gave drugs and I did drugs for pain. I'm not talking about broken leg pain, physical pain. I'm talking about, I have a memory of my dad leaving my family when I was 5 years old. I remember sitting on the front steps watching my father, who was my hero at the time, packing the car, putting boxes, putting suitcases in the back of the car, and he left our family. He came back 3 years later. He had a new wife, he had a new kid, he had a whole new world, and I wasn't part of that world. I don't say that for you to feel sorry for me. I'm not asking anybody in this room to feel sorry for me. I'm just saying that that day was the beginning of a bunch of really messed up stuff that happened. My mom, I'll just put it this way, my mom probably shouldn't have had kids. I'm not trying to disrespect her, but basically, she came from a long line of abuse. My great-grandmother abused my grandfather, and my grandfather abused my mom. When it became my mom's turn to have kids, my mom just did what she saw. It was her normal, so she went with it. And back in those days, like whatever happened in your house stayed in your house, that kind of crap. Well, a lot of stuff happened before anybody ever found out about anything. It was crazy in our house. I was afraid of my mom. You're not supposed to be afraid of your mom, right? Because your mom's like, here's a brownie. Like, thanks, Mom, right? But my mom could be like that, but then all of a sudden, a switch would flip in her head, and you would know what you were going to get. It was crazy town. I remember being in elementary school and looking at the clock. I'm looking at all these elementary school teachers, potential teachers here, and I remember being in elementary school and looking at the clock and hating the clock. I was that kid. 2:30 would roll around, I'd get panic attacks because I didn't want to go home. My mom had boyfriends, she had other adults she put in our lives that I know would go to jail for some of the stuff that happened to our house. So I'm going to say this one more time. I'm not asking anybody in this room to feel sorry for me. I'm just saying I'm in 6th grade and somebody offered me drugs. It had nothing to do with peer pressure. It had everything to do with the fact I liked the way it made me feel. And you don't get many adults admitting that they actually like drugs because they don't want to condone drug use, which I understand, but I'm not going to stand here and lie to you because I think that's disrespectful, so I'm not going to do that. I'm just telling you straight up, I liked it, and not because of what you think. I have kids your age, right? My kids will go, Dad, what was it like getting high? I don't know, because I don't remember high. I wasn't chasing high. I was chasing numb. I liked the feeling of not feeling. That's why I will never walk into a room as long as I live and put my finger in anybody's face and judge them for doing drugs. I'm not condoning drug use, don't hear me say that. I'm just saying there are reasons people do what they do, and I'm not interested really in what people are doing. I'm really not. Even my own kids, I don't really care what they're doing. I want to know why they're doing it. What's the reason? What's the motivation? What's happening on the inside of you that makes you think that you can destroy your life because you don't like yourself? Or whatever that reason is, but there's a reason. How many of you guys know who Johnny Depp is? He's that ugly guy. Actually, I called Johnny Depp ugly at a school in New York, and a girl stood up. She did. She goes, "I'll slit your throat." I'm like, calm down. He said something about drugs I think is really interesting. I think you guys will like this. He said this. He said, "I just wanted to self-medicate to numb myself through liquor. It's how I dealt with life, reality, stress, change, sadness, memories, the list goes on." He goes, "I was really trying to feel nothing." I don't know if you know this about Johnny Depp, but he grew up in South Florida. His parents went through a divorce when he was in high school. I found this quote in Rolling Stone magazine. I think it's really good. He's talking about drug use, and he goes, "I think it has less to do with recreation and more to do with the fact that we need to escape from our brains. We need to escape from everyday life. It's self-medication, and that's the problem." I think it's interesting that Johnny Depp didn't say we need to escape from tragic things that happen to us. You know why? Because certainly there are people in this room that have had tragic things happen to you, but most of us have not. Most of us go through life and we just, one day at a time, can just beat the crap out of us. And nobody will know because of this reason. Look at my face right now. What am I doing right now? What am I doing? How many of you have learned how to smile on the outside, but you weren't smiling on the inside? Yeah, you learned that by 5th grade, right? You're like, yeah, I'm doing good. I want to kill you, but I'm doing good, right? And that's all right, because sometimes you need that defense mechanism so people don't know what's going on because you can't trust everybody. But it also can be dangerous, and I'll give you an example. I got a call from a principal in Omaha, Nebraska, because they had a kid at their school die. There's 2,500 kids in this school, big school, and this kid went to a party, popular kid, he died. He didn't commit suicide, he wasn't killed, it was sort of an accident. What happened was he took a bunch of pills, a bunch of kids were coming to this party and putting pills in a bowl, and most kids were just taking one, putting it in their mouth, whatever. This kid, like M&Ms, just took a whole handful, put them in his mouth, and whatever he took, the combination stopped his heart, he had a heart attack and died at the party. So I get a call, go to the school, there the whole day. Then I get a call from the mom, and this is what messed me up. Because the mom starts talking about, his name is Dylan, and she starts talking about Dylan, and she's like, Dylan was a good kid, he's on the baseball team, popular, blah, blah, all that stuff, right? And then she goes, I wish I would have paid attention to what Dylan kept trying to tell me. I said, what was that? She goes, he kept talking about the pressure he was under as a high school student, and she goes, I didn't listen to him. And she was a good mom, so I was curious. I said, why didn't you listen to him? And she goes, because it didn't look like pressure to me. She goes, from my adult perspective, I'm looking at his life, he's smiling a lot, he's getting decent grades, he's got a girlfriend, he's got a job, whatever. He's basically going down the checklist of all the things that looked normal, right? And basically this kid's destroying his life with drugs to the point where he died. And then she asked me the question, she goes, Mike, do you know what pressure he's talking about? And I said, yeah, I do. Not to be cocky, but I do. Because it's the same pressure you guys face every day when you walk into this building. You know by now that when you walk into this building, this is not just a school, right? I know this is an exceptional school, but it's still a school. And so when you walk in, it's not just a school. If it was just a school, you'd come in, you'd learn, you'd go home, and that was it. But as soon as you walk down the hallway of this school, you're going to get judged. Raise your hand if you know I'm right about that. And people don't judge you for what your whole life is about, because guess what? They don't know that. That's what I hated about high school. Walking down the hallway, people had their opinion about me. You don't even know me. You haven't walked in my shoes. You don't know what my life is like. You don't know what I had to go home and face every day, but you're going to sum me up because of what I'm wearing right now? And that pressure sometimes gets overwhelming for kids, and we're seeing that all across this country, that people are freaking out when they get under this social pressure, like my life has to match up to this criteria or whatever, and that can be overwhelming. Raise your hand if I'm right about that. And I'm not trying to disrespect any of the adults in this room. In fact, I talked to them this morning and I have deep respect for them. But let's face it, I'm an adult too. I'll put myself in this category. I don't think we as adults really know what that's like for you. I think some of us want to know more. I'd put myself in that category. But we don't know what that's like for you. And when people get under that kind of pain or pressure, some of the stuff you guys go home to, like I had to go home to, you deal with it. You want it to go away. Johnny Depp calls it self-medication. I call it the bottom shelf, whatever. But basically, bottom line is, let me show you what self-medication is. If I had a cut in my arm right now, it was nasty, it was infected, and it needed medical attention, I could do that, right? Go to the hospital. But you guys know as well as I do that if I let them touch that, which I'm going to have to make it better, it's going to hurt. Well, what if I don't want it to hurt? What if I don't trust those people that they know what they're talking about? I could just take Tylenol. And for 6 hours, I wouldn't even know I had a cut. It's called masking. People do it all the time. They cover up the real issue. The real issue is the cut. Tylenol does nothing for your cut. It just makes you not feel the cut. Well, the drugs and the alcohol that I was doing growing up did nothing for my cut. My dad never came back into my life, really. My mom is 80, and she's still not well. I was just with her 2 weeks ago. Somebody might say, well, at least you didn't feel it, because those drugs and the alcohol helped you not feel it. That kind of makes sense, but watch this. If you broke your leg today, pain in that moment would be your best friend. It really would. You want pain in that moment, because if you don't feel pain, you're going to get up and walk on that leg. And obviously, you're going to do more damage to that leg. Pain is there for a reason. I know some of you right now looking at me like you're crazy. I'm not, because you can't help the pain. The pain's not your fault. It came to you. But pain is there so you can do something about it, not just cover it up. If you cover it up, it's just going to get worse. And I don't think it's just drugs and alcohol that people cover up pain with. If you asked me 15 years ago when I started this program, if you said, Mike, if you're going to go into school and talk about pain, you're going to have to talk about cutting, I wouldn't have believed you then. I believe you now. Because just about everywhere I go, I'm going to meet somebody. Happened to me in Montana. A girl walks up, gives me a cloth. 14 years old, gives me a cloth. I open up the cloth, raise the blade in the cloth. She goes, can you help me stop cutting? Looked me right in the face and said, can you help me to stop cutting? I'm a stranger. I'm a guy that just showed up at her school. So I looked at her and I said, I'll try, sweetheart, but can I ask you a question? I go, why does pain take away pain? I don't understand cutting. The best explanation I ever got on cutting was not from Google. It wasn't from a psychiatrist or a book. I'm not negating any of that stuff, but I'm just saying it wasn't from that. It was from her. She goes, it's like taking emotional pain. It turns it into physical pain. She goes, I can control the physical pain. I can't control the emotional pain. Raise your hand if that makes any sense. I'm not condoning it. I'm not judging it. I'm just saying when people are under pain or pressure, they reach. They go, I want this to stop. So they reach for something. I'm not one of those adults that thinks that you can't be in love as a teenager. I think you can. But I also watched a lot of teenagers when I was a youth pastor hook up just because they didn't like themselves. Like, I don't like me, so I'll date you. So if you like me, I'll like me. That's a recipe for getting used. I remember this girl walked up to me at a school one time. I was speaking at a school, and she comes up and she goes, I know the guy that I'm dating right now. She goes, I know he's using me. I go, break up with him. She goes, I would rather hear I love you fake than not hear it at all. I'm like, what do you mean by that? She goes, I don't go home to a nice loving family where I'm told I'm loved and I'm cared about. She goes, yeah, I know he's using me. I know he's playing me. But what's my alternative? Not to hear I love you? That is a great question. What is my alternative when I don't feel loved? I feel loved right now. I'm just going to be honest with you. My wife loves me. I know she does. You know why? I catch her sometimes looking at me. Isn't that creepy? But like I'll be like in the kitchen, and she'll be on the other side of the kitchen. She'll just be staring at me, like making soup. I'm like, hi, what's up? And my wife's hot. I have a hot wife. I seriously have a hot wife. Like she is. Do you want to see a picture of her? This is my hot wife. That's not her. Here we go. She's the one on the right. That's my dog. He's ridiculous. No, and my wife loves me, and I can't, seriously, I'll catch her sometimes, like, it's a good feeling, right? But when you don't have that feeling, you don't go, oh, good. And I'm not just talking about romantic. I'm talking about when you go home to a family that is so crazy You just don't get the message that you're valuable. You don't just sit there and go, I'll just wait for it to happen. You go looking for it in the wrong places. Do you know why I know that? Because I did it. And I got sisters. My dad left. My mom brought morons into our family. So I watched my dad go looking for love. I watched my sisters go looking for love in the wrong places. I'm not going to call them names now. I'm not even going to get into all that, but you know how that is. We call a girl a name. We're going to call her a name. Come on. Do you know the backstory? Do you know why she might be doing some of that stuff that you're labeling? There's a reason. There's a reason. And when I had daughters, you guys, I was like, I'm going to make sure my daughters know how beautiful and how valuable they are. And I've got 4, well, one's ugly. I got 3 beautiful, I'm just kidding. That's messed up. Can you imagine if I was that dad? I was like that guy. You're the ugly one, get in the basement. You guys want to see a picture of my kids? These are my babies. He's the ugly one right there. I'll show you a picture of my son. I have another picture of my son. That's his girlfriend. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Stop it. Okay. No, I just want to say this, and I'm going to give it over to Craig in just a second, but I want to say this. This is going to sound really crazy, but this is the truth. There's only one reason why some of you in this room have been used and are going to get used, and it has nothing to do with the person that's using you. That's a different, it does, but that's a different subject. Here's the reason. Because you don't know how valuable you are. Deep inside, if some of you just knew how valuable you were, you would stop letting that guy use you. You'd stop letting that girl use you. You'd stop letting those people in your life treat you that way. I stopped doing that a long time ago, not because I had some epiphany, but because I started realizing that I am valuable. And I don't care what people have said about you. I don't care how they label you. You are incredibly valuable. I had a girl walk into my office one time, and she goes, why do I always attract bad guys? And she had dated like 4 boyfriends in a row that were just awful to her. And she was putting it on herself. She was like, there must be something wrong with me. So she said, why am I attracting all these bad guys? Well, my friends tried to be nice to her. They were in the office too. They said, no, it's not you. There's, someday you'll meet the right guy, all this stuff. And I said, no, it's you. And she just looked at me and she goes, you don't even know me. I go, I don't need to know you to answer the question. Watch this. Watch this. If some of you get this, this will change your life. You attract what you respect. You attract what you respect. If you value and respect you, you automatically attract people who are going to respect you. And you actually repel the people who are going to use you because they know they can't. But if you don't respect you, if you lay in bed at night and you compare yourself with every girl, every guy, whatever, and you call yourself names and you put yourself down and you listen to all the stupid people in the cheap seats that have something to say about you, you know what? You're going to walk into this school and you're going to allow people to treat you like crap because they know they can. Raise your hand if I'm right about that. So the answer is not getting the right boyfriend, girlfriend, partner, whatever. The answer is to fight for your own value. And Craig and I are going to make the fight easier for you today. I wrote a book called Value Up, and I'm not going to sell this to you. I'm going to give this to you. So we're going to leave copies here. We have a website you can go to download a free copy of it, but it's a walkthrough on your value, and you need to know how valuable you are. You do. I started this program 15 years ago, and I started collecting. When I stand up here and I go, everybody in this room has a story, and your story matters. I don't know why I didn't plan this, but people send me their shoes in the mail. It's really crazy. Like my mailman thinks I have issues. He's like, here's another shoe, weirdo, right? I can tell you something funny that happened to me in Florida. This girl came up to me and she saw my shoes and she goes, ew, why do you have a bag of other people's shoes? And she said it really snotty like that, right? So I picked up one of the shoes and I just looked at her and I went, because I smell them when I'm lonely. She left. Anyways, no, I carry these shoes because what happens is kids write in them, they put notes in them. I've got over 700 shoes in my storage unit at my house, and a couple of years ago I moved to Colorado and I put all the shoes down on my driveway, took a picture of it. I was going to put it on Facebook and that was going to be the end of it, but when I was putting the shoes back in the bins, I realized, man, these kids have written their life story on these shoes. And they believed me when I said, they believed me. They believed me when I said your story matters. And so they wrote their stories on their shoes and they gave them to me. I'll never depart from these shoes. I never will, because there's stories, and they're precious. And you have a precious story too.
All right. Well, how are you guys doing today? How did you like my creepy friend that carries around teenager shoes? Give him a warm round of applause. I have a little confession to make. I'm a little disappointed. I was hoping to come to your school today, and I was hoping to meet your guys' school mascot, and I found out you guys don't have a school mascot. And how sad is that? Can everybody say, "Oh"? It's very sad. I was hoping, you guys really need to come up with what your school mascot is going to be. But I was really hoping that you could have a school mascot. It could be up here during my talk today, do a little dance for us for some school spirit. How many of you guys would have liked to see a make-believe mascot that you don't have do a little school spirit dance for you today? Yes, that would have been fantastic. But you don't have a mascot. So I decided that since you don't have a mascot, to do a little dance for us for school spirit today, I decided about halfway through my talk that I was going to have to do a little dance for you. And I don't know if any of you have noticed, but I'm white. And so I really cannot dance. In fact, I'm a terrible dancer. And so since you don't have a school mascot, you're going to have to suffer and watch some white boy dancing today. And tonight you're going to have nightmares, screaming, crying, running out of your room, your father, mother, son, daughter, what's wrong? Make the white boy dance and stop. Make it stop. And they'll say, we should have had a school mascot. That's what they'll say to you. I am really glad that we could be here today. And today, during this time, I want to share with you a little bit of my story. And hoping that you will take some things with it for your life. Some principles that I learned. I was a survivor of the Columbine high school shooting. And the day that this shooting happened in our country was a day that time kind of stood still. If you ask an older brother or sibling, if you ask them where they were and what they were doing when Columbine happened, I promise they can tell you exactly where they were. It was a very sad day in our country because it was the first big mass school shooting that happened. And people were tuning in on the news, wondering why is this happening in our country when schools should be a safe place. I'm not here today to focus on a tragedy because I believe that what we place our attention on in our life, we give power to. And so I'm not focused on the tragedy, but I do want to take you back to this day in our nation's history, which was the worst day of my life. And I was in the room that had the most intense shooting in the school library and saw things that really messed me up for a long time. But that day and what I went through and the pain in my life has translated into purpose, in my life. And now I'm thankful for the very things that I went through that were very hard at the time. And I want to take you back to this day, which was the hardest and worst day of my life, the day the shooting happened at Columbine High School.
The two suspects are indeed on the school grounds, and they believe that the suspects are surrounded.
Eric Harris and Devin Cleveland placed 2 bombs in the cafeteria minutes before students would fill the area. Their plan was to shoot students as they fled from the building. The bombs failed to detonate. In frustration, the gunman approached the school, shooting students outside the west entrance. The library was the scene of the most intense shooting. In just 7.5 minutes, 10 people were killed and 12 were wounded. The 2 killers took their lives in the library. The SWAT teams entered the school, finding a scene that shocked even the most hardened of all veterans. were reunited. But for the families of 12 students and one brave teacher, there would be no joyous reunion. At that time, they were left in stunned sorrow to pray and ask, why? April 20th was the first warm spring day in Colorado. Rachel Joy Scott chose to sit on the grass outside these doors and eat her lunch with a friend. This is where Rachel was shot. This is where Rachel died.
She started to change her action with love and was kind to others. She's changed the world. And that's my sister.
Rachel's funeral was viewed on CNN. It was the largest viewing audience in CNN history. It was a memorial service for a beautiful and kind young woman. But more importantly, it was a powerful witness that a life committed to kindness can impact the world and start a chain reaction.
After the shooting, I was broken. I was in a broken place. I couldn't sleep at nights. I was dealing with a lot of sadness and grief and loss, losing my sister. I also was in a library where I watched two friends killed next to me. And I dealt with a lot of things. A lot of times I wanted to escape my pain. I wanted to escape. A lot of times I escaped through video games or sleep, or I wanted to escape where I was and the circumstances that I was in. But the biggest thing that I dealt with was anger. I hated those two boys that did what they did. They had no right to do what they did. And I used to fantasize if I just had 5 minutes alone, how I would get revenge on them, what I would do. And for a couple of years of my life, I was just this very hard person to be around. I was angry, and a lot of times I took out my anger on people that didn't deserve it, like my family. One day I was watching this movie with my little brother, who's just a year younger, and he's sitting in a couch, I'm sitting in a chair watching this movie, and prisoners start to break out of prison and start to get really violent. And I started to have flashbacks of being in the school library, and I told my brother to change the channel. And he's just watching the movie, he has no idea what I'm going through, and as it gets more and more violent, I start to have more and more flashbacks, and then I was just right back there in the library, and feeling all these same emotions, feeling scared for my life, feeling these emotions, and I told my brother to change the channel. He wouldn't change it. And then I started thinking about these two guys and what they did, and I started to get really angry. And it's like this black cloud enveloped me, and I told my brother to change the channel. And he said, why? And without thinking, I went and grabbed my little brother that I love. I picked him up and I carried him into the kitchen and I slammed him on the kitchen floor. I grabbed the kitchen knife and put it in front of his face and said, do you want to know what it feels like to almost lose your life? My brother's crying. He has no idea what was happening, and I realized what I was doing and dropped the knife. My brother got up and ran away. I couldn't believe I was becoming like the very thing that I hated. Because what we place our attention on, what we give focus to, we become more like, we give power to in our life. And I was giving them a lot of power in my life to affect me and my emotions and my actions. My senior year, I got invited to go before I became senior that summer. I got invited to go from a church group out of Texas on a mission trip. My sister wanted to go there in the summer, and she was raising money with support letters, but she didn't get to go. She was killed her junior year. And so this church group invited me and said, hey, we learned that Rachel wanted to go with us. Would you like to go in her place, and we'll cover the costs? And so I went in my sister's place, and I spent 2 months in South Africa, and we visited these refugee camps that had hundreds, maybe thousands of tin shacks. And if you can imagine a tin shack where the whole family lived in it, they had dirt floor, no electricity, walk miles to get water. And even though they had what we would consider nothing, materialistically, next to nothing, I saw some real family and love and joy. Saw the best dancing, the best singing I've ever heard. And I saw people that even though had nothing, some of them were still content in life, still had contentment. We had this bus driver, this big African man that would drive us into the squatter camps, these refugee camps, and he would always be singing these beautiful Zulu songs. In fact, I found a recording of a little bit of what he sounded like. And he'd be singing these songs every day in the buses. He'd be driving us into these refugee camps. One night I was up late on the campsite. I wasn't supposed to be out. And he saw me. This is what he sounded like. And he saw me, and he pulled in with his bus. I was up walking around at midnight. I couldn't sleep, and I was angry. I was just thinking about everything. And he pulled in, and he asked me what I was doing out. And he could tell that I was upset, and he told me 4 words that were really important, and great 4 words to say to someone. He said, "Tell me your story." And for some reason, because of the way he had acted in his presence, I decided to tell him my story, and I hadn't told anybody on that trip what I had gone through. So I told him about my school and my friends and my sister, and he listened. And then with a smile, he told me his story. And he told me that he came home one day, and I think it was a smile that said that what he went through wasn't happy, but that he was whole, that he was in a healed place. He told me that he came home one day to find his entire tribe, his entire village, had been massacred and killed by another tribe. And it was during the apartheid in South Africa, and a very violent time in their history. And he lost 17 members of his family. He was the last person left from his family. He came home to find his entire family had been killed by machetes in a brutal way. And at first when he told me this, I didn't believe him. I thought, how could you be this joyful person singing these beautiful songs every day and have gone through that? It didn't make sense to me. And then he told me that something that had an impact on me. He said that forgiveness was like setting a prisoner free and finding out that prisoner is you. I came back from that trip, and my family said I was different. I began to let go of all that anger and hate that I had. And it wasn't a one-time thing, but I chose to forgive those 2 shooters. If they were to come through these doors and stand up next to me right now in their black trench coats and all their anger and all their arrogance and all their hate, I wouldn't want revenge on them. I hope I would be like my sister, who was kind and compassionate and tried to reach out to them. In fact, I've met students over the years, very far in between, that have idolized those 2 boys, saying terrible things to me. I was able to reach out to them and have an impact on them. But I wouldn't get to be this free person if I didn't choose to forgive and let go. You can say, well, what is that? Does it mean that what those guys did was okay? Absolutely not. Forgiveness isn't pardoning somebody and saying what they did is okay. It's a letting go. It's for the person that forgives, even more so than the person being forgiven sometimes. And it's a letting go. And I came back from this trip, and my senior year I started to get a little bit of counseling. And I have this great counselor who recently passed away, this older man who was a mentor in my life. And he told me how I could take some of these negative emotions that I was feeling and turn them into something positive. Neurologically, you can take certain emotions and translate them into another emotion. He said, you can take anger and turn it into determination. Sadness into appreciation for life, fear into courage, and anxiety into excitement. If you're dealing with any of these emotions on a regular basis, if you're angry, you're going through life, and you're just hurting people around you, and you're just angry all the time, if you find that's you, and maybe you've had some hurtful things in your past or ongoing things in your life that are the cause of some of this anger, I want to let you know that you can take that same energy within you, that same emotion, and you can, instead of going through life wasting that anger and energy, you can turn it into determination, into a goal. And so that's what I did. I turned it into a goal. My goal was this: the 2 shooters at Columbine they wanted to start a chain reaction of school shootings in our country. They talked about it in a video that was never released to the public. It was called The Basement Tapes, but victims of families got to see it, families of victims, and I saw it. And near the end of this video, one of them picked up a sawed-off shotgun and pointed at the camera. He was talking about starting a chain reaction of school shootings, and he said, we need to kickstart a revolution. We need to get a chain reaction going here. And he ended the video. They made this video just a month before they were killed, and at the same time, my sister wrote an essay in her class. The teacher gave the class this great assignment. The assignment was, I want you to write about yourself. If you were your ideal self, what would that look like? And what kind of values would you have? What kind of character would you have? So my sister wrote this paper. She titled it, My Ethics, My Codes of Life. And in it she talked about the things that were most important to her. Being a leader, looking for the good in other people, looking for the good in life, not being quick to judge or label anyone. Like Mike and I share, everyone has a story. And she also talked about kindness and compassion. And here she said, I have this theory that if one person can go out of their way to show compassion, then it will start a chain reaction of the same. And people will never know how far a little bit of kindness can go. She ended her essay with these words, the same words that the shooters ended the video with. And she's ended it with, you just may start a chain reaction. The same month, one of them talking about, in the video, a chain reaction of school shootings. One of them talking about a chain reaction of love and of kindness and compassion. And so my goal became that I was going to be a part of my sister's chain reaction. And that my chain reaction that I was going to help was going to far outreach the chain reaction the two shooters started. They wanted to start a chain reaction of school shootings, and they have in this country. There's been copycat shootings that have happened. But I was going to be a part of this chain reaction. If you're angry in life, you can take that anger and turn it into determination. I was walking through the hallway my senior year, and a boy came up to me that I knew in school. I didn't know him real well. His name was Adam. Adam was really awkward socially. He had a slight disability that made him talk and walk slow, but he was awkward sometimes socially. And he came up to me, and he told me this story. He said that he met my sister, and Adam said the first time that he met her, he said he didn't have a lot of friends at school. He said a couple guys were making fun of him. They were thinking that he didn't know they were making fun of him, but he did. He said Rachel came around the corner of the hallway, and at one point, one of them accidentally knocked some books out of his hand, and Rachel saw what was happening. There was nobody else in the hallway. She decided to go up, and she got in between Adam, these two bigger guys. She doubled up her fist and said, if you touch him one more time, you're going to have to mess with me. Now, my sister was about this big. So I'm sure these big guys were just scared out of their minds. They're probably looking down and going, there's something wrong with this picture. If we beat up this little girl, we're going to look bad. But if she beats us up, we're really going to look bad. She had the courage to stick up for Adam. And those guys walked away. And Adam told me that every day after that, when she saw him in the hallway, she would say hi to him. That's it. Just hi to him. And Adam told me she didn't know, but at that time I was having thoughts of taking my own life. So I would wake up in the morning feeling like I was worthless, that the world would be better off without me. I didn't want to live the day. And he told me that after he met Rachel, he would wake up and literally he would think about that minute that he got to see her that day. Just a little bit of kindness. See, Adam was basing his value on what other people were saying about him or how other people were treating him. But that's not where his value lies. Your value doesn't lie in your abilities or your giftings or what you look like. It doesn't rely on your family or how much money you have. Adam and I are still friends today. In fact, this last year I was at a nice banquet with him downtown Denver, Brown Palace, very nice place. And I asked Adam, he's married, has a business. I said, Adam, if you could go back and talk to your 16-year-old self who was thinking about taking their own life, what would you say to him? And he said, I would tell him to hold on. And I would tell him the very things that hurt him, the very things that are making him feel low, can be the very things that make him strong. And I knew what Adam was talking about. Because how we choose to see the painful things in our life, we all will experience pain. All of us will go through things and have gone through things that cause us pain, but what we decide to do with that is up to us. And we can see it as a way to deepen our character, that can lead us to our purpose, or we can see it as something that we want to escape and get away from. Adam said he would tell his 60-year-old self to hold on, that the very things that hurt him were going to make him stronger. And I'm saying the same things to you today. I have a lot of students that come up to me after a presentation and tell me about terrible things that have happened in their life. Sometimes things that have happened to them at home, a bad negative family atmosphere, or maybe sometimes it's things that happen at school. And I would say to you, what I say to them is that those very things can be what makes you deep and strong, if you allow it. If you don't run from your pain or try to self-medicate, but you face it on. You take that pain face on. You don't run from it, you accept it, and then you learn how to take it and turn it into something good by focusing on the right things and having a vision for your life on how you want to be different. I was in a really poor community recently in Arkansas, really poor, spoke there, a lot of poverty, and the principal said, I want you to hit on this can. And so I talked to these kids about, they're in a cycle with the family of being in poverty. And I said, poverty is a state of mind. Being broke, you can be broke in life. It's a temporary financial status. But being poor is a state of mind. You want to get out of being poor, change your mind, and envision a different future for yourself. The clearer that you can see your vision of your future, where you want to go and what you want to do, the more you can make that a reality in your life. Adam told me that story, and at the same time my family began to go through some of my sister's writings and journals. This is a journal that was with her the day of the shooting. I'm sure she would have loved to know that her little brother was going through her diaries. That's like every teenage girl's wish, like my little brother to go through my diaries. And but my family went through, and this is a journal that was with her the day of the shooting. It was in her backpack. And on the front she said, I write not for the sake of fame, not for the sake of glory, not for the sake of success, but for the sake of my soul. Can I tell you something? The most contentment in life, true contentment, and there's the longest study that's ever been done in human history, a Harvard study backs this up, so there's a lot of studies, but the most contentment in life doesn't have anything to do with things and circumstances out here. It has, it doesn't have anything, it does have something to do, but it has much more to do with how you choose to see the world and what's happening within. How you see the world, how you see what happens to you, because you can have two people going through the same thing, and one of them can see it as this is going to build me up and make me stronger and prepare me for things down the road. Another person can think of it as the worst and hate it and try to escape it and get away from it. Rachel wasn't writing for things out there, but things within. On the back of the same journal in big capital letters, she wrote, I won't be labeled as average. I won't be labeled as average. And you can see where it looks a little torn up and distorted underneath the word average is where a bullet had actually passed through my sister, went into her backpack, and got stuck there in her journal. And to me, it serves as an exclamation point. I won't be labeled as average. Don't allow yourself to live averagely. You have great potential. And you have to believe in that potential. Don't live an average life. Don't be labeled as average. There's an organization that heard about this story of Adam and Rachel reaching out to Adam, and they made this video commercial that was inspired by that story that deals with having character.
Get some Frank loser.
life.
I know that some of you during that video wanted to put your arm around your neighbor and sway back and forth to that song and be like, I love you. I don't really know you, but I love you. Well, guess what? We're going to get to do just that, because we're going to get to watch this video again, but this time I need to get all of you to stand up to your feet. Yes, stand up nice and tall and proud. Every single last one of you nice and tall and proud. Nice and tall and proud. And now that you're standing nice and tall and proud, I need to see all of your arms in the room look just like this. And put your arm around the person next to you. Don't be too school for cool. And see your arm around the person next to you, because the entire school today, we're going to sway in unison to this song. So arm up around the person next to you, and watch me for the swaying motion. Here we go, get your sway on. That's right. Okay. There you go. Get your sway on. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. We know when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. Character. I'll help you carry on. Give yourself a warm round of applause. There you go. Simon says you may be seated. Yes, feel the love, friends. Feel the love. I saw a real difference in my school before and after the shooting. Let me share with you before the shooting. You know, what was important to me was trying to fit in, trying to be cool, my image, what other people thought of me, and that was really important to me before the shooting. Also, what was really important to me was my hair. I don't know if you can see my hair, but it's absolutely perfect. But I cared way too much about my appearance and what other people thought of me. My sister wasn't like that. She didn't care about those kinds of things. She cared about reaching out to others. She, I think, was making real friendships and investing into people, not caring about so much what other people thought about her or trying to be popular or cool, but she was investing in making real friendships that would last, and she was reaching out to other people, and she was also one that dreamed big with her life and had a lot of big goals and dreams that she wrote down in her journal. I remember one day before the shooting and how my school changed. We had in our lunchroom, you know, all of the different cliques sat together, you know, football players here, we had band, we had all the different cliques and groups. And we had a table where all the popular guys sat at, a lot of them football players. I was on the wrestling team, and I always wanted to sit right at this table, but I got to lunch a little bit late, so all the seats were taken, and so there would actually be a ring of chairs around this table, people just trying to be a part of this group. And so I usually would be on this outer ring. One day I got to lunch a little bit early, and so I got to sit right at this table, at the cool table, and I felt like I was on the in crowd, felt good. There's a popular football player named Jonathan who was used to sitting right there at the table, and he came over, didn't have a place to sit, so he looked at me and said, "Hey, give me your chair." And I said, "No, man, get your own chair, you know, I got here first." And he said, "No, give me your chair." And I kept telling him no, and we kept going back and forth. He kept telling me to give him his chair, I kept telling him no, and then I realized all of a sudden everybody was watching at the table, and back and forth, "Give me your chair." "No, man, you know, get your..." And he said, "Why do you sit here? No one even likes you." And I remember looking around the table, hoping maybe somebody would stick up for me. No one did. And I started to feel a little bit emotional. Didn't want to get emotional in front of these guys, so I got up and I walked away. Every time I came to that lunch table, the rest of the school year, I felt this big. I felt like insecure, and I didn't matter. I felt this big, and because I took his words and I believed him. See, two things happened. One, somebody said something to me, and we have control of what we say to other people and how we can build them up or tear them down. But number two, you also have a part in that. You get to choose if you believe those words or not. And I believed them. I believed those lies, that no one liked me, that I wasn't worthy to be around these guys. Let me contrast that with how it looked after the school shooting. When you came to the cafeteria, first of all, you would notice that it was all mixed up. It didn't matter who sat with who. You had football players and band members, and you had cheerleaders with all kinds of clubs. It was all mixed up. It didn't matter because all of a sudden those things didn't matter. Like trying to be cool or popular. We were all in this together. We were all trying to get through something hard together. And all of a sudden the things that my sister cared about, like how you treat other people, became very important. People asked me how I got through what I did, and I began to go through some of my sister's writings, and they really encouraged me as I wanted to have this goal to be a part of her chain reaction. And here she wrote, and this inspired me to really start going after my dreams and goals. And now I have. I've been in several movies. I've gotten to work on major motion pictures. I've gotten to speak around the country to over 1 million students. Been invited to the White House a couple times, and I'm going after my goals, and my sister's inspired me to do that. And here she wrote, "Glory only comes when one pursues their dreams." How many of us know what we really want and go after it? How many of us have enough trust, strength, and faith to believe that we can do the impossible? And when she was 13 years old, she traced her hands like this on the back of an old dresser. And in the center of one of her hands, she wrote, "These hands belong to Rachel Joy Scott and will someday touch millions of people's hearts." My family and I didn't find this until 5 years after the shooting. On a Christmas day, we were moving some furniture around. And my oldest sister saw this on the back of a dresser. And by that time, it had come true. Her story was already touching millions of people's hearts. There's a major motion movie that was made about her, documentaries, books that were being written, and her story was touching millions of people's hearts. But she believed in her value. You know who didn't believe in their value were the 2 shooters at Columbine. And as I read through their journals and their writings, I saw a lot of hell, self-hatred, and always looking for the worst in the world. They never seemed to see the good, even though they had a lot of good in their life. These guys saw the worst in this world and focused on it. If you were to ask me the biggest reason that Columbine happened, it wasn't because of a lack of gun control. It wasn't because of the medication they were on. It wasn't because of bad parenting or going to a bad school. It wasn't because of bullying. The biggest reason these 2 guys did what they did, and I've learned about every school shooting that's happened since, and this was the first big mass school shooting in our country. The biggest reason that I believe these school shootings happen is that these guys and these people, these shooters, focus on everything that's negative in their life. And they don't seem to see the good that surrounds them. Each one of us is responsible for our own perspective, our own attitude, and our own emotions. And these guys are blaming the world. You made me angry. You did this to me. And now I'm forced to do this. And when you blame other people for your emotions and you don't take responsibility, you give them the power over you. We have to be responsible over our own emotions. Another thing that my sister wrote that really helped me was she said, "Look hard enough and you will always find a light." The morning of the shooting, my sister was waiting for me in the car. I was in the bathroom perfecting my hair. Again, I don't know if you can see my hair in this picture, but it's absolutely perfect. And so I was making her wait, and I get into the car, and we start to get into an argument. She's like, "You know, Craig, you can't keep making this late to school." And I kind of had this attitude, this chip on my shoulder. I thought I was cooler than her at school and had more social power. So we got into an argument and started to call her names. We pulled up to the school, and I got out of the car, slammed the car door shut. And I had no idea that that would be the last time that I would ever spend with her. I went to my class to study for a test, and I heard some poppy noises coming from outside the school. It was near the end of the school year, and I thought maybe some seniors were pulling a prank and brought some firecrackers to school. And this teacher ran into the room. She was completely frantic. She was yelling that there were 2 students outside the school shooting other students. She yelled at all of us to hide, and so I got underneath the table to my friends Matt and Isaiah. The popping noises started to get louder and louder, and I realized that these weren't firecrackers, but these were gunshots. And I felt like I heard a voice within speak to me and told me to be still. My 2 friends, for lack of a better term, just started to freak out, very frantic, very scared, and I became very quiet and very still. The library was the first room that the 2 shooters came into, and immediately they were shooting off their guns. They were taunting or making fun of students before they shot or killed them, and they treated it like it was a game. They came over to where I was sitting, and they saw my friend Isaiah. Isaiah was one of the very few black students, one of the few African American students at my school. When one of them saw Isaiah, he called the other one over and said, "Hey, we have an N-word over here." And they drug Isaiah out from underneath the table, calling him racial slurs. Isaiah tried to back up, and the last thing that Isaiah said was, "I want to see my mom." And they shot and killed Isaiah, and then they shot and killed Matt, and walked away. My ears were ringing so loud from the shotgun blasts, I thought they were bleeding, and I thought I was going to die. I felt so much fear that I felt like my heart was going to stop beating, and I didn't know what to do. So in that moment, I simply asked God to take away my fear. I prayed and asked for my fear to be taken away. And in that moment, I felt relieved from my fear, and I felt like I could move and think. And I heard a voice speak to me and say, "Get out of there." I wasn't sure if the 2 shooters were still in the room or not, but I decided to listen to that voice, and I was the first student to stand up, and I looked around the room, and I yelled at everyone, "Let's get out of here. I think they're gone." And I turned around to help up a girl who had been shot. We escaped through an emergency exit. There's a police car outside. We all ran behind that police car, and as soon as we got behind that car, the 2 shooters came back into the library and began to exchange gunfire with the police, and I realized we got out of there just in time. Other police cars coming by and picking up students, taking them to a nearby street, and right before I left, a friend tapped me on the shoulder and said, "I think there's a girl that's been shot over there." It was my sister. What became important to me, what was important to me before the shooting and after the shooting changed. You know, trying to be cool or popular meant nothing. It was totally meaningless. What other people thought of me, my image, was meaningless. But all of a sudden, the thing sister cared about became very important. Like how you are treating other people. If you were going after your dreams and goals in life and dreaming big, if you were valuing yourself and believing your own value, being kind to others and focusing on the good in this world. I'd like to do something with you as we close out, if you'd be willing to close your eyes for just a moment. I'd love for you to close your eyes because I'd like you to imagine a room. And in this room on one side are all the people that you care about. The people that are important to you. And I want you to see their faces. And they're all on one side, and you're on the other side, and they're looking at you and they're smiling. And just for one moment, if you would, just imagine that it's your last time with them. And ask yourself, how am I treating these people? Am I being giving and loving and listening and helping, or am I always taking? You see, I wish so bad I could go back in that car instead of calling my sister's name so I could look over and say, "Rachel, you know I love you." But I can't do that. My last challenge to you today is a challenge of action. And it's to go to at least 3 people in your life and to tell them how you feel about them, how much you appreciate them, how much you care about them and love them. If you're willing to do that and accept that challenge, and tell 3 people in your life, would you just make a commitment to doing that simply by raising your hand? If you're willing to tell 3 people in your life what they mean to you, just to raise your hand. Maybe you do that on a regular basis. Maybe you don't do that at all. Maybe there's somebody you can really say that to. You place your hand down and open your eyes. I mean, lots of them. The biggest lesson that the Columbine shooting taught me was that everyone has value. And it's so incredibly important that you believe in your own value. So as we end, I just want you to repeat these 3 things after me. Just say, I have high value. I want you to say it again because it's so important how you see yourself and your own self-perception, that you know you have incredible potential and value. Say, I have high value. I will choose things that match how valuable I am. And I will value others. You guys have been such an awesome audience. Me and Mike are going to be around if you'd like to share anything with us. And we hope that you guys take the message back to your schools and at this school in the hallways. You know, don't let a tragedy teach you what it taught me in my school, and that is how to treat other people. Learn now how to treat people and treat them good. Reach out to somebody that's having a hard time and be good to yourself. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much.